welcome to the Human Function podcast, and I'm here with Jin Atwal. And Jin is the founder of Magical Mind Coaching. And I met Jin about a year and a half ago. I think we were just talking about it just before we hit record here, at an Expert Empires event in London where David Goggins was speaking, and we had a good chat. Where was it? It was a bar, wasn't it? Upstairs after the event.
Yeah. I think it was after kind of party type thing, and we were standing outside. Yeah, we had a good talk.
Yeah, and I think well, we connected on the basis that you were starting out sort of fresh in a journey of helping the world in a very interesting way. I think a unique way, something that you won't necessarily come across. So hopefully people out there listening or watching will get a really good vibe from this. I think what struck me, man, when we chatted was just the energy that you put across and how passionate you were about things. And you shared with me the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 approach, which was decision making and calming yourself down and framing your thoughts. And I have actually used that with some clients as a way to help them out. So you can explain that in a minute, but more to the point, Magical Mind Coaching, how have you gotten into helping people with their well-being and their wellness and their mental health? What's the spark there?
So at the time when I met you at the event, like I said, about a year and a half ago, I was just kind of trying to think about how I could help others. I think I told you at the time, my sister just passed away about 12 months previous, and I was in the kind of mindset where I really started to think about my purpose in life and what I wanted to achieve. And I'd had a conversation with my sister just before she passed away about what she wanted to achieve, because she wasn't expecting to pass away. She knew she was ill, but she talked about how she wanted to look at life through the lens of death and achieve all the things that she wanted to achieve before time comes to an end. Unfortunately, she wasn't given much time. It was a couple of weeks after that conversation that she passed away. And it really got me annoyed at first, but then it really got me thinking about, we never know what is going to happen tomorrow and what is really important in life. It's not materialistic things. It's what we do to leave a legacy behind. So that really got me thinking. And I thought, how could I give back? And I think a lot of people find their purpose in life by understanding what their pain is in life. So for me, my pain came from myself as a child, living in a home with a lot of domestic violence, kept a lot of emotions inside of me. So I'd go to school. I didn't have many friends because I was so quiet, but nobody knew what was going on in my own mind. A lot of the time I was in a bad place, but I'd still turn up and not tell anybody, not tell my teachers that was happening at home. Then I'd get home, see the domestic violence, get back, go to sleep, to school, and that was my day. And the weekends were even worse because you're at home all day on the weekends. So my life was like that in many ways. I was unconfident, didn't have great communication skills for a long time. Then I got to secondary school and I started experimenting with alcohol and other things, and just to increase my confidence. And that's what it was. I felt like I was kind of the odd one out, really mixing with other people. So I started drinking a lot. That increased my confidence. And then that was a bad habit that, just to get my confidence, I'll drink, which is the wrong thing to do. And that followed me around for a long time. So what got me thinking when my sister passed away is that there's certain things in your life that children have that help that are not supported with in schools. And for me, that is helping them with their confidence, communication skills. Another thing is mindset. And my life changed when these things came together. So I started attending something called Toastmasters, which is a public speaking course. And I started to work on my confidence and communication skills. And within a 2-year span, I've been there. So I've nearly been there 2 years, not even been 2 years yet. I went from somebody that was really unconfident to, in May this year, actually winning, I come in second in an international speaking competition, which started off with 10,000 people. So I'd kind of proved to myself that confidence in communication are a skill like any other skill in life that can be developed. Whereas all my life, I always felt that if you're an introvert, you're an introvert. If you're shy, you're shy. You can never do anything about that. That's part of your genetics. But it wasn't until I joined this communication course that I learned that you can develop these skills, but you're not taught how to as a child. And then the other thing is you don't need alcohol and other things to help you increase your confidence. If you can develop your confidence, you can do that naturally. The other thing I was doing at the same time, I was working on my mindset. So I was reading a lot of books. Like I said, I talked to you about the 5-second rule, where you count back 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and take action. So I was doing that, and I was doing a lot of other things, and reading a lot of good books. A book called The Miracle Morning, which is about habits and waking up every morning and following a routine. So I thought, how can I give back? And then I realised that how has my life changed over the last few years? My life has changed because I've learned how to develop my mindset, and I've become a confident person and become a better communicator than I was. Together, these things have transformed my life. I only wished these things were available to me as a child. I can't turn back time, but I can help other children. This is my purpose. And that's why I've developed my business, Magical Mind Coaching. And it's all focused around those things, 3 things. So helping children develop their mindset, helping children develop their confidence and their communication skills. And it's got an umbrella of education where that is kind of the future vision of helping children understand things about the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, about limiting beliefs, all these things that I know now that I wish I knew as a child. And that's what I'm trying to do now, combine all these things together.
That's powerful, man. I think that's there's a couple of big moments there, like growing up. I mean, where did you grow up? Whereabouts in the UK?
So I live in the West Midlands. My hometown at the time was at Wednesbury. It was probably a bit of a bad move. When we moved house, we lived in the town centre of Wednesbury. And so my dad used 5-10 minutes to the local club, and he was there quite often, and he'd come back and be often quite violent. So yeah, that's what I saw quite often on a daily basis, and it really mentally messed with my head. As you can imagine, as a young man in a house, and you see domestic violence, it just makes you feel like you're weak, like you're letting your family down, that you're not a man because you can't protect your family, even though you're 6, 7, 8 years old. You're not expected to, but that's how you feel. And it just knocked my confidence totally.
Yeah.
And again, so many children in this situation, but how many children actually go and tell somebody? So my whole idea is, if a child's not going to go out and tell somebody or talk to other people about these things, which often doesn't happen, what else can you do for that child? And you can help them become mentally fit, physically fit, and learn how to do stuff like meditation, yoga, to help with their own mental health.
And do you think that the support structure in schools is changing based on your experience so far? But more importantly, is it changing because we're becoming more aware of it as a whole, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think schools are becoming more aware of it, and there are schools, and I think there is a difference. Some schools do a lot of this stuff now, or are beginning to implement these things, and some schools that don't. So there is kind of a difference between different areas and different schools, but I don't think they still do it enough. You have things like Mental Health Week for children and various other things, and during that week, the school may do some meditation. They may talk about journaling or other things, but then once that week's over, they don't really do much more. There are other things coming in now, but for me, my vision and what I would think should be reality is that, yes, we have PE, we have physical education. Why don't we have ME, mental education, which is just exactly like physical education, which is, mental health is just as important. So why isn't it done as part of the national curriculum and schools made to do it every single week, where children sit down, do some meditation, get some journals, get their journal out and do some journaling. Why isn't that part of the national curriculum, just like PEs? And that's what I'm trying to get across. My vision is trying to make ME, mental education, part of the national curriculum, and that's where I want to get to, really.
And that's awesome. I mean, you're already in a few schools that I see, based on what you've said, and I've been following your journey since we spoke. You know, I've watched as you've kind of brought your own children into this routine, right? So, do you mind just explaining what you focus on with your own family? Because I think when you're trying to implement some big purpose in life, it always starts within, I think, within you, within the unit around you, and then it can kind of grow, if that makes sense. That's how I found my journey with weight loss and changing my life. It happened with me, then the immediate people around me, and I saw big change with them, and it started to spread that way. Has it been the same for you?
Exactly, and that's exactly how it went. So I was doing something called Miracle Mornings, which is, he has a program called Savers, where you work on affirmation, visualization, and various other things. And my routine was probably about an hour and a half. I was getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was going for a 5K run. I'd come back, meditate, visualize, and do various other things. And my oldest daughter, he was around 5-6 years old at the time, used to see me doing these things, and she'd say, towards the end of my program, I'm just coming in, "Daddy, I want to do this with you." And I says, "Well, I get up at 5 o'clock and I go for a 5K run. It's not going to be probably suitable for you." But that got me thinking that maybe I can adapt something and create something for her. And that's what I create a magical mindset. And that the 5 steps within that are shorter. It's 15 minutes. And within those 15 minutes, you do 3 minutes of stretching, 3 minutes of thankfulness. So we talk about what she's thankful for today, what she's grateful for. Then do some aerobic exercise, so something that's really fast, gets the heart pumping. Then we relax. So once your heart's pumping, you bring yourself down again. It's a lot easier to bring yourself down once your heart's pumping and you're doing some aerobic exercise. And you cool down and do some meditation. And we do meditation for 3 minutes, and then we finish off by giving her a journal, and she writes in a journal about how she's feeling, any thoughts she's having. And we started doing that for about a year, and me and my daughter was doing it. And then I thought to myself, I need to get this into schools. And I approached my daughter's school. Never worked in schools in my life, so you can imagine how I felt going to the head teacher and saying, "I've got an idea. Can I run it in your school?" And I expected him to say no. Yeah. And to my surprise, he said, "Yes, this sounds amazing." So I started doing it at my daughter's school every single morning at 8:30 with the children. And I started off, there was probably about 10 children. And then I started off in December, not last year, the year before. And we've got about 50 children by the end of March. And then another school contacted me, and I was doing 2 groups of 50 children there. So it got to about 150 children by the end of March. And then unfortunately, we had lockdown, which slowed me down a little bit. Yeah. But up until that moment, it was amazing just to sit there and run these classes with these children. And I'd ask them, "What are you grateful for? What are you thankful for?" And they'd say, "Oh, my PlayStation." And I said, "Great." And then into week 2, week 3, I'd say, "What are you thankful for?" "Water." "Wow." "What are you thankful for?" "Pencils." "My teacher." And they really started thinking a lot more deeper. And right at the beginning in week 1, I'd say, "Can you do some meditation?" "Sit there." They'll sit down and they'll spin around and they'll have their legs out and they couldn't concentrate. The children couldn't sit there for 5 seconds still, because that's the way things are going. Children are so impatient now because they get everything straight away. They just find it hard to sit and relax. And by the end of the 3 or 4 weeks, 5 weeks, I was doing it, these children were relaxing, eyes closed, focusing on their breathing, and it was just amazing to see the transformation within that short time. Lockdown came, and I've learned in life to adapt to change, and that's what I did. I started doing it. I told the children at the school, "Join me on Facebook." I'll be on Facebook every single morning at 8:30. Log on to my Facebook Live, and we'll continue. And I started off with the children at Woodthorne, which is my daughter's school, doing that class with me. And by the end, I was getting something like 10,000 views of
Wow.
families from all over the country. And a family in America contacted me. She said she was doing it, and it's just amazing. It just took off.
That's
And
giving me goosebumps, man.
yeah,
That's powerful, dude.
It's amazing. It's amazing, and that was even before John Wicks had talked about coming on TV. It was like just before that.
Yeah.
I had planned on doing it at 9 o'clock, and then I knew John Wicks was doing his thing, and I thought I'll just do it before. And I even had like people contact me saying, "Oh, I prefer your routine more than John Wicks because of the way it's structured and in terms of how it does stuff to do with mental health as well."
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's phenomenal. I think that's really, really powerful. The thing that hits me, right, is, and this is something that you mentioned, is about sort of that instant gratification culture, the sort of focus, stillness is a word that comes to mind, right? And I've made a couple of notes here, and you know, I did a thing about, I don't know how many years ago now, 6 years, 5 years ago, I gave up my phone for a week. And, you know, this was back when Apple had just released their like maximum version phone or whatever it was. And I had it and I was like, right, I'm going to give it up for a week. I'm going to see what happens, how my life changes, what things go on. And I did an hour a day on computer. So I was allowed to check my emails, go on Facebook, but only from a computer and have my phone switched off. And it was really difficult. It was really challenging. And by the time I got to day 7, I was excited to switch it back on and be able to communicate with the world again. But I was disappointed that actually the world had carried on without me in a way. But you know, cut to now, we've been in lockdown and we've had screens around us. You know, I've got screens here, I've got a phone, and you know, we've got iPads in the house and stuff. It is absorbing a lot of our energy and our time. Do you find that that's a battle that we can win?
I think I do run another program, and it's called Magical Speaking, where I all started in lockdown, and I started it off doing it's a 1 hour class every single week where I help children with their confidence and communication skills. Again, it's online, and that's been really successful as well because it's online. I've been able to run classes in Dubai, Oman, Nigeria. You know, I did a class of 20 children in a little classroom in Nigeria and taught them about how to use body language, vocal variety, various other things. And it got me thinking, just to get back to your point, about social media, how it is absorbing all our time. And like I say, you kind of absorbs you. If you feel like you're in a world, that's your world, and you come off that, and you realise that that world just carries on. It just it's not reality in many ways, and it can absorb you. But a lot of people think social media is really negative. But I believe there are some positives from social media. So what I tried to get across in my magical speaking class was, so 2 things you can do. You can tell your child never go on social media; it's really bad. Or you can tell them how to use social media in a more positive way. If you tell them option number 1, tell them not to do something, they're going to go and do that thing. Yeah. Option 2, you train children to, yes, use social media, but use it in the right way. Don't use it to bully people. Don't use it for materialistic things to show off what you've got, but go and educate. So I use this magical speaking class to teach children how to educate others. So even though I was teaching them how to become confident communicators, I was doing Facebook Lives, and I was getting them to come on and do a Facebook Live and talk about something that they're passionate about, that they want to change the world with. So they talk about plastic pollution. And I was talking to a girl in Nepal, and she was talking about the caste system and how the caste system is wrong in Nepal, where people of higher castes are treated differently to lower castes just because the caste they're in. And these children, these are all the things that are on these children's minds, and you know, cyberbullying and everything else. And I thought, use this platform, and you can tell everybody, you can tell thousands of people about how you're feeling and how life should be.
Yeah.
And that's how you can use social media in a more positive way, rather than letting it absorb you and using it for showing off what car you've got or whatever other things that people do, which I think that's the right way to go, I feel.
No, I think that's true, and I think that was certainly the sort of experience that I had, was sort of withdrawal, and then when I got back into it, I realized that actually, you can manage it. You can manage the situation. You can manage your screen time and all this stuff. I'm just mindful of it taking people away from reality. And in a sense, that's why I think what you're doing is fantastic, because you're educating the children about the usage of this. And I think it's often missed. I think, we've got screen time where you can limit the time on a phone, and, it all comes from like a negative perception, right? Screen time limits your time on the phone. Parents say, don't do this. Parents say, don't do that. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that. So automatically, children are being framed in a sort of negative way mentally, and empowering them with choice. Realistically, is what you're trying to say. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think exactly. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, teaching them the choice. I think.
Yeah, I think that.
In your website, I was looking earlier, and I think you mentioned that the sort of growth mindset aspect, which a lot of people find hard to grasp. So can you elaborate on the growth mindset?
Yeah, so as part of my magical speaking class, and some of what I do in my magical mindset classes as well, is kind of getting children to understand the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And some schools are starting to teach this as well. Is that when you've got a fixed mindset, you believe I can't do this, and I won't do this, and that's just the way it's going to be. With a growth mindset, it's I can't do it yet, and it's that yet which is so important. That shows that you're willing to learn, and you're willing to take feedback, and you don't see failure as the end. You see it as failure as part of the journey and an opportunity to learn. And I think children need to learn these things, because it is about being more resilient. And I think the younger generation, in many ways, are not as resilient as we are, as our generation have been. And teaching them about things like having a growth mindset and various other things can really help them become more resilient.
Yeah, I think it's sort of, you've got that. I feel like it's a new school approach to a new emerging world, if that makes sense. Like, you might come across people who'd be like, oh, well, when I was a young boy, we didn't have all of this, feeling anxious, depressed, withdrawn, maybe struggling at school and this kind of thing. And I think a lot of the time people miss the point of the world is so vastly different now than it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago. When we started getting exposure to social media and the internet was still quite young, no one really knew what it was about. And then all of a sudden it's just evolved so fast and so quickly that we haven't caught up with it. It's a bit like diet. Our bodies haven't quite caught up with the way we eat. And so we get all these ailments and injuries and illnesses, right? So I kind of see it like that. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it is true. The world is changing so quickly, and the pressures and things that children face today are completely different to what we had. We can remember probably just the beginning of the internet coming, and how fast technology's changed since then, and how fast things are just continuously moving all the time. Even the children of today will probably their children will probably have a totally different experience as well, because things are changing, and there is a lot more pressure on children these days, I feel. So I think having that opportunity to build, having that opportunity to build your health of your mind is so important now. If you look at the statistics of number of children that are suffering from mental health now, and various other things. It's so important that we start looking at this, and rather than looking at it from the end result of how we're going to cure this, we need to really start thinking from how can we prevent this. And I think we just really need to start looking at how we can help children develop their mental fitness, and teaching them things like meditation and yoga and affirmations and visualization, things that many of us don't learn until later in life, and some of us that never learn at all. How these personal development books that kind of came into my life at such a late part of my life, I wish it was available for kids. And for example, I don't know if you ever heard the book The Alchemist.
Yeah.
Such an easy read, and I was reading that and I thought, okay, why not just give that to my daughter to read, see how she gets on with it. She's only 8 years old, and the messages she got from that book was amazing. She astounded me. I said, what did that book teach you? And I thought, wow, I wish there were more books like this that were written in a way which was kind of the right age for younger children, but still teaching the same messages. Because I think it's so important. Life is changing, and a lot of stuff that stuff like Job for Life and a lot of jobs that are out there that kind of in our age are going to disappear. Anything that can be done automatically will be done automatically. Children will have to think a lot more creatively. There'll be a lot more maybe people working for themselves and various other things. I think we need to adapt our educational system and the way we teach children to match the way the world's going, because it is going to be totally different to what any of us have experienced.
Yeah, I think watching how the educational system has had to jump quite quickly from an offline to an online realm has been quite interesting. And I talk to clients who've got kids at various schools, but I also experience it with my partner's kids, and they've got their own educational framework, as it were. There doesn't seem to be one school that does no schools do everything exactly the same, right? So it's been interesting to watch, and the efficiency at which some schools have gone, bang, we've got this online system, there's an app, there's this, there's that. It shows that there is the capability out there for things to shift.
Yeah,
I guess from, I don't deal with schools very much. I have done in the past, but, would you say that the educational system, in terms of its actual curriculum, needs overhauling from the whole aspect of it, or can you implant courses like yours in strategic places?
I think a bit of both. I think to have it structured right from restructuring the whole thing would be kind of impossible to happen. Whereas changing it in parts, like my routine, just a 15-minute routine that can be adapted into schools. I believe once you've got that into schools, then you can start extending it. You can get a child to do meditation for 3 minutes. You can then get them to do 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and you've got become more and more part of their lives. So I think changing the system slightly, like you say, the way it's changed. If you look at the first lockdown and homeschooling then compared to homeschooling now, because I'm doing homeschooling, I did homeschooling then, I'm doing it now. That schools have adapted very quickly. But that first homeschool, it was they didn't have the online apps, they didn't have everything else. It was quite difficult. Now everything's quite efficient. It is difficult because you're trying to homeschool and work at the same time. But it's the way they've adapted it to fit the children has been amazing to watch. So I think schools can adapt. But I think it does have to start with the national curriculum. I think certain things do need to change, and do need to the way we teach children has to change as well. And I think a lot of it now we kind of instruct. I'm doing kind of learning about coaching and other things at the moment. A lot of now we tell children what to do. So this is how you do it. And I think that's changing. That needs to change, and children need to start beginning to kind of learn to think for themselves. They're given a problem. How would you solve that? And they begin to kind of teach as well. So I'm not going to get myself across the way I want to, but in terms of my magical mindset program, is what I'm trying to do is right at the beginning of the first 4 weeks, I train teachers how to do the magical mindset routine. And then second 4 weeks, the children start to do the routine themselves. And then on the final 4 weeks of the 12-week program, the children actually become the coaches themselves, and they begin to teach. Because I believe when you teach, you learn a lot more. So that's the way I think the education system needs to change, is where the children actually become the teachers. The children have to begin to learn to think more for themselves rather than being instructed, because the world ahead will be a lot more to do with creativity, rather, because like I say, anything that can be automated, that way you instruct to do something, a computer will be able to instruct you to do that. But the people that will get ahead in the future are the ones that can think for themselves and think creatively, and that's what we need to teach in schools right now.
And I think that's awesome. I mean, I looked at your formula, which is START, isn't it? Stretch, thankfulness, aerobics, relaxation, and thoughts. Now, I may have mentioned this when we first met, which was the book called Spark, The Revolutionary Science Behind Exercise and the Brain. Have you read that book? Have you come across it?
No.
Honestly, have a read of it. It's a bit doctory and it's not an easy read. But it's a John Rately and Eric Hageman, I believe doctors. I might get that wrong, but essentially they implemented a training regime for kids in a school in America to improve their mental health, the bullying that was going on in the school, the grades and the all sorts of things that were going on in the school, and it was dropping. And what they did was they went into the school and started to not experiment on children, that sounds wrong, but they were trying to put this program into place where kids would exercise before starting their classes in the day. And the first trial didn't get very good results because they were pushing the kids too hard, and they weren't having any measurable, individual measurable statistics. It was all across the board. Why can't you run as fast as so-and-so? That sort of thing. And actually, when they started to break down and analyze each child's behavior and each child's heart rate and their exertion levels, they realized that every kid was actually doing what they believed was their best. And it started to improve. Camaraderie had picked up. It wasn't such a competitive element, more so a team building exercise, and translated to better funding for the school, higher grades, less bullying, all the sorts of things that involved in it. But the doctor's side of it was looking at the scientific data behind performance and the brain, and how, a child waking up after a late night, going to school, having eaten the wrong sorts of foods, not getting any stimulus or exercise, is far more irritable in a classroom environment, right? So I think from that perspective, I think you've hit the nail right on the head, and definitely check that book out. But, in terms of your, let's say, testimonials, as it were, have you seen a big change in your kids, your children? I mean, in terms of their behavior, in terms of their schoolwork, their attitude towards life?
Yeah, definitely. Even with my own children and the feedback I'm getting from schools. So even though I couldn't run my program in schools myself during lockdown, I actually started training a few teachers how to run it themselves. So a few teachers have been doing that and feeding back to me. And I've also done the videos with my daughters on YouTube, so people can just go onto YouTube and follow the routine themselves. And the kind of feedback I'm getting is that it does, firstly, kind of gets the children ready for the day. They're a lot more relaxed. They're thinking a lot more deeper, a bit more creatively. Things like the forced journaling, even though they're writing their thoughts down and their emotions out, but it also helps with creative writing and other things like that. So it does help in a lot of different ways. And like exercise alone is good. Physical exercise is good. And then when you add stuff, when you mix the two together, where they're working on the body and the mind, it just kind of prepares them for the day, and they're really focused. And the stuff that, if you look at the statistics around, how it helps the schools, it reduces bullying, it helps with attendance, it helps with focus at school. So there's so many benefits of these as individual things like stretching, relaxation, meditation, fortune. Each one of them has a list of benefits in their own rights that can help children. So I think it does. It is the best way, kind of in many ways, to start the day. And that's why I do it. When I was doing it beforehand, it kind of really helped me overcome any difficulties in the day, because you're a bit more relaxed, a bit more calmer. It helps to let any of your emotions. It helps you talk to others and have conversations with others, and more likely to talk about how you're feeling inside when you learn to talk about your emotions. So there's so many benefits of it that it's just, to me, it's a no-brainer. It should be done as a daily basis if possible, where children go into school every single day and they do some kind of physical and mental exercise before they even start the whole rest of the day.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I mean, have you ever had it where kids are just like, you get put in front of kids and they're just disengaged from the actual activity, or so I've had it. The reason I asked this is we did when I worked in a commercial gym, there were a group of us trainers. We were qualified in a training modality called ZOO, which was primal pattern movements and body weight training. And an offshoot of that brand was like a Zoo Chimps program, which was basically teaching children how to move and have fun. And the delivery of which was down to the individual, really. The trainers would have to make contact with the school. I think we did about 7 or 8 schools in the Birmingham area. And we went in and did the coaching for free. The difficulty was we didn't frame it the way you've done it, with, the teacher being the focus at first, then the children. We kind of went straight in for the kids. And what happened was, firstly, we had teachers that just didn't want to. They were like, well, someone's offered to take the kids off our hands for 30 minutes. We're going to go and catch up with all the work that we've got to do. So they didn't get to experience what we were teaching the children. And then the children would go back and they loved it. And they're like, this was amazing, and they're taking that to the classroom, but that positive energy wasn't met from both angles. So that was one thing that we learned. The second thing that we learned was dealing with people who disengage. So there would always be a child or a couple of children that just were not having it. They would not get involved in the activity. They would be sort of outspoken, as it were. And what we did was quietly said, this is what we're doing. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. Feel free to just join in when you want to, but you can wait over there. When your friends are finished, we can carry on. And what we found is, after a few activities, they were drawn into the group. I may be jumping the gun, but have you done anything like that? Or, what's your experience with that?
Yeah, so very much similar to yourself, but because the routine's so different in different areas, what I did find was some children really liked the physical exercise part, some children really liked the meditation part, and because it's small chunks, it's just 3 minutes of each. It's manageable. So some children say to me, "Yeah, I really love the exercise, but I don't really like meditating." I said, "Okay, just fine, just give it a go. But I know you really like the exercise bit, just do the exercise bit and just try your best in the meditation bit." Some people loved creative writing, some didn't. But it gave children a bit of everything. And because it's only 3 minutes of each, that we're willing to try different things. And when they weren't disengaged, if they were disengaged in parts, like I said, I just let them. I wouldn't force them to do anything. So I'd say, if you don't do this, if you don't do the meditation, the 3-minute meditation bit, I'm happy for you to go and sit on the side and then come in and do the aerobics bit. And like you said, eventually they'll come in. And the other thing that they really liked was they liked becoming the leaders. They liked becoming the teachers of the class themselves. So like I say, for the first 4 weeks, I'm just very much teaching them, putting no pressure on them, just trying to get them to learn the routine so they understand. I ask them every lesson, what are the 5 steps? And eventually after the 4 weeks, I know the 5 steps, I know the moves, they know what to do, they know understand what meditation is. I ask them what different the benefits of meditation are. And that's what you do in the first 4 weeks. On week 5 onwards, I'll invite them to come to the front, and they love it because they become the teacher. So they'll stand next to me and say, "Okay, can you tell the children to do meditation?" And then they'll ask all the children to do the meditation. And so, okay, can you ask the child, and that child will sit down and ask another child to come, can you do the root exercise bit? And then finally, when we get to week 8 to 12, I'm really sitting back and watching them, and they're running the class. And I'll give my certificate at the end of each one, which children like as well. At the end of 4 weeks, you are now an assistant coach. At the end of every 12, you are now a coach, and you're a coach of the program yourself. So I think it's just taking them on that journey. You never put pressure on them to get involved, but because it's only 3 minutes, small chunks of each one, they're more likely to. And it's like any habit in life, and it's even with us as adults. If we're told to do something for the first 5 or 6 days, when I started doing my routine, I didn't like it, found it very difficult. I said, it's not for me, but I stuck with it. And that's the thing, you've got to try to get children to stick with it, and then continue that routine. And once you've done it for that, so say it takes 21 days to build a habit in your life, you need to get children to stick with it for those 21 days. Come in and out, stick with it, and then start building on that. You can't expect them to love it straight away, because we don't love it straight away. It's a new thing, it's a new habit, but it has to become part of their life. And once they see it begin to have positive changes in their life, then they're more likely to continue as well.
No, I think that's really good. And like you say, it's a chunk of time that's manageable. You're not asking them to sit there and listen to you talk about the features and benefits of meditation for an hour. You're showing them, you're teaching them, they're learning, and then they feel empowered to do it for themselves in front of others. And I think that's the key. So many times it's a one-way street. The teaching environment is I tell you this, and I find you can kind of, I used to switch off in class. In certain classes, if it was like maths or something, I'd be like, someone's shouting numbers at me for an hour. But then with history, I always found like it was an engaging lesson, in the sense that I was interested in it, so therefore I tried harder, and so on and so forth. So like you say, you've got quite a spectrum there of movement and calmness and thoughts and journaling. So you're touching on areas that every kid will have a strength in at some one of those areas. You know what I mean? So I think that's really cool. So in essence, I mean, like, why I started to record these is to try and help people connect with more people. If you were trying to connect with coaches out there and other people who could draw a message from you, what would you tell them? Someone getting into the industry of coaching, whether it's mindset or movement or wellness or whatever, what's one thing that you could tell them today that would help them on their journey? Throw a curveball at you, sorry.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And I think if I look at myself, going back probably about just over a year now, when I first started, it's not been long for me. I've been doing this for about just over a year, and during the lockdown period, I was thinking about this 6, 8, 9 months before I actually walked up to the head teacher and said, can I run this program into your school? And if somebody's starting out right now and they're thinking that maybe they haven't got the experience, they haven't got the knowledge, they haven't got the contacts, well, we all start somewhere. And yes, I didn't have the experience, but I gained that experience by asking that head teacher, and that head teacher surprised me by saying yes. And people often will, if you offer them to do something for free and you offer them to do that something that's really good for a school, they'll probably will say yes. So get the experience and do it for free to begin with. Offer your time, and people will often take you up on that. Get the knowledge. So I'm now studying. I'm learning about coaching, I'm learning about mentoring, because I knew that is something that's a gap in myself. I haven't got the exact knowledge on how coaching techniques and mentoring techniques. Even though I think I'm not doing the right thing, maybe there's more I can learn. So I'm getting that knowledge now. So you can get that, go and get the education. And in terms of the contacts, they will come. For example, me meeting you and me and you having this conversation now, when we spoke a year and a half ago. And you'll always meet people that you can connect with, and you know that these people, yes, you might not speak to every day, you've made a connection with them, and they'll come into your life at a certain point and help you along their journey because they all believe in the same thing. Because that's the way it kind of happens. You kind of build your tribe, you build your people of all who have the same intention of wanting to change the world for a better, wanting to help young children. And as you continue to spread your message, understand what you're about, what your values are, continuously saying what your values are, helping understand other people understand, see you as that person. So I don't want anybody I want people to eventually not see me as Jin and think of Jin. As soon as I think of Jin, think, oh, Jin, he's the guy that helps young children develop their mindset. And that's, you kind of create that brand for yourself by continuously telling people what you do and what you're trying to achieve, and believing that yourself, and everything that you do is focused around that.
That's great, man. That's cool. I like that message out there. And so to throw another curveball at you, if you parents out there listening, anyone out there with kids or maybe thinking of having a family, it's been an interesting couple of years. What one thing would you say to parents out there and to families in this time? What would you send out to them in terms of what you know now that you'd like to pass on?
I think for me, the biggest message I want to get across to parents right now is really understanding more about mental fitness and mental education, because yes, it's something I know, but then I'll speak to some parents, and just because I've got this knowledge of something that I've learned, sometimes you naturally think that everybody else understands this or is as passionate as you about this, and then but they're not. That not many people are. And why should there be? Well, it's not been taught. It's not been educated. Not many people are now talking about it right now. About what mental fitness is. People have physical education all the time, but they don't really know about meditation, or it's seen as, oh, that thing, meditation sounds a bit funny to me. Can't really see the benefits of it. I think they really should try doing it themselves. And children look at their parents. Like my daughter looked at me, and she's seen me do meditation. She's seen me doing journaling. That's what she wants to do, and then model you. So really, my message to parents would be, try it for yourself. Try doing some meditation. If you're not doing it already, try doing some journaling, and then understand the benefits for yourself. That's the journey I went on, and I saw the benefits myself. And then once you understand the benefits yourself, you're more likely to then go and push it onto your children and say, "This is amazing. Let's try this." And because the children can see you doing it anyway, they're more likely to model you and do it with you. No, my daughters do it with me all the time. It's come to the point now where they just do it themselves. So I've got an 8-year-old and 5-year-old. They'll wake up every morning and I can hear them doing a routine upstairs while I've been up for a couple of hours anyway, so I'll be downstairs and they're just doing the routine and just get on with it. And they've kind of got to the point where they've created their own routine as well. So I don't stop them, let them be creative. So they're doing their own meditation scripts. So they'll create their own meditation script, or they'll talk about, they'll create their own exercise movements and various other things. So, I've allowed them to adapt and change the program, and they're enjoying doing that. So for me, I think the most important thing is for parents to believe in this and do it, and then spread it onto their children. I need to get parents to do it first. I need parents to believe in it and understand the benefits of it, because only then will they understand the benefits and then pass it on to their children.
No, that's powerful. Leaders lead, as they say, right?
Yeah.
So if you lead from the front, you're going to have people following you, right? No, that's awesome, man. No, really, really cool. So if people want to check out what you do and how you do it, what are the best ways they can do that? You've got a website?
Yeah, so people go to the website, which is www.magicalmc.org, which is Magical Mind Coaching. So they go to the website. There's a lot of details on there about my Magical Mindset course and my Magical Speaking course. And then I've also got a YouTube channel. If you type in Magical Mindset in Google, you should be able to come across that. And that's got the 5-step route, the 5-step routine over 5 days. So that's a different routine for 5 days. And if you can just follow that for 4 weeks, so start Monday if you want, follow that routine all the way through and do that for 4 weeks at least. and let it become a habit in your life, and then see what the benefits. You might find week one, day 2 difficult. That's normal. Even adults find it difficult, children find it difficult as well. But it's a new habit in your life. If you do it over time, then you begin to see the benefits and the rewards from doing that. So yeah, they can go on there. Also on the website, I've got free journal, so they can pull up a free journal on there as well. So yeah, I think that's the best thing to get to do is go onto the website and be able to find a lot of information on there about what I do and why I do what I do.
That's perfect, man. Well, I'll put all the links out for people that come into contact with it as well, and we'll sort of get the message out there. And I know a few people that are in some schools around here, so I'll try and have a chat with them as well and see if you can get a broader spectrum of things and get out there to more people, man. But I really appreciate you coming on to the podcast today and sharing with everyone what you do and how you do it. Yeah, so that's it, man. Well done.
Yes, thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you soon.